All right. So, in part one of what we were talking about, dispelling magical culture, is kind of been a theme for a long time for me. I remember growing up in a false Christian religion, uh, uh, and I remember like I didn't, my family, that's their thing. Both sides of the family, that's their thing. The community, back in the 70s, when TV was just not black and white anymore, it wasn't like HD or anything cool. What was there to do but, you know, bigger activities? So I would say back in the day, uh, there were pros and cons. Obviously, people were more social gatherings. We had a lot more connectedness in schools, in school activities, in sports, so much community. And soon, literally, we lost that connection, I would say, in the late 2000s. Like, God, what are we in? 2023? Holy cow. I would say we started really losing it from 2008, and then post or after COVID, we've really lost it. Uh, and so we've really lost some foundational things about being a human being. And one of those things was the level of connectivity, groups that people were in. Like it was so normal. And because of that, I think there were some very positive things that came about through this culture of connection and community and whatever your groups were. And then it was kind of like, reading the room. People kind of understood how to treat each other. There were a sense of manners and etiquette. And then we kind of like blew that all away with what we have now, the disintegration of however we want to see it. But here we are, and it's almost like we're backwards. And so, you know, I would say, America maybe, losing some steam. A lot of ideas have been put out there, and just kind of, I would say, America has kind of rotted out. It's kind of like, I guess I wouldn't even worry about it. So really, what we need to do is, you know, tap into your own moral compass and start living that. Put the good up back out into the world. Long story short is what we got to do. But moving on to really the point now. Come on, Onyx, let's get to the point. These tangents, these like twisty roads you take us on, they're great, but really the point. Breaking down magic into its very basics. If you've watched some of my previous videos, I'll just use simple basic shapes to map my thoughts, map creating structure. And so with the 5-pointed star, I was like, let's really break this down. What is going on? And you could start from any of those 5 points, but whatever's going on, you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of what you lack, what you want, what you need. You have to be aware of what's happening to you. Maybe you feel like you're under the influence of magic. There's a level of awareness that has to go on. And when the less awareness you have, the less effective your magic is. So there is a responsibility of you becoming aware. When people are wanting to activate their magical senses, their third eye, their empathy, their clairvoyance, whatever you want to call it, you're really saying, I wish to be more aware. And so, and when you're catching more information in a situation, it comes off like psychic. You know, if you're seeing more than the 6 colors of the rainbow and you're seeing 10, you get this nuanced. You get more information, you get the subtle shades, and there's a level of enrichment that happens. So the development of your inner senses and working with that makes your magic, makes more potent magic. Without it, you can't do much. So for a lot of people, learning to tune in, and so that could be holding crystals and rocks, feeling the different weight, feeling the different vibes you get because they're made out of different substances. It could be color, and it could be with herbs. So I remember back in the day, I would just spend time with my essential oils. I would just smell it, and I noticed what psychological thing would come up, or what I would feel. And so there's this book put out there called The Crystal Bible. I basically was doing that with my herb collection, writing it down, taking notes, and finding out for myself how things work versus what's been presented to me in a book from someone else. Like, how come this lady who had the audacity to write a book now defines, now why is that the definitive? you know, because someone calls themselves a shaman or a witch, why are they the definitive authority figure? I've noticed people who teach, people who put themselves in positions. I'm a third degree black belt, or I'm the master of this dojo. Or I'm like, or just because the world agrees this person's the greatest, this person's the smartest, this person has the highest IQ and she's only 11, was something I heard, and people were making fun of her, calling her weird. I'm like, because you say that doesn't mean it's so. You know, your test itself might be of low IQ. So higher IQ people can't even understand your test to pass it. So I don't really know what your test that you made up has any legitimate claim. So awareness. I kind of went off on a little tangent, but I thought it was important. We're like, who is the authority if not you? And you'll never become an authority until you have more experience, you know? So, awareness. This is about how to actually make a spell, okay? So it kind of sounded, all over the place. You're going to university level lecture. You're listening to a professor. Uh, this is like advanced, so it's highly creative and it's philosophical. You take what you can that works for you, because I'm addressing a large audience, and then you add it to your craft. You're like, oh, I guess I really didn't know when I was dressing my candles. I was listening to music in the background that didn't relate to the spell. Now that I become aware of the dissonance, the totally two different intentions, maybe that's what you take away. You're like, I'm actually going to listen to music that supports my spell while I prepare the objects for my ritual. Whoa, that might be all the difference in the world from being a joke to being a magician. So, awareness, and in the last video, I talked about what I was aware of. I was aware of all three players that created this experience that seemed like a magical attack. I was aware of her imagination. I used my memory. I listened to her when we were friends, what she was into. No wonder why those visions came up. I listened to how my body was feeling. Why do I feel like I just got shoved in some old lady's vagina? Enter that dirty second chakra that hasn't been cleaned out in 1,000 years. That's a cesspool of baggage. I was listening to my senses. I was listening to my eyes. I was listening. And all that was awareness level. So I took from that experience a lot more information. And so I was able to dismantle it better, on more levels. If I can dismantle something on 5 levels versus 2, that's more effective. So let's move on. So on this star, this pattern on how to make an effective spell or make your magic work, I put awareness as number one, but I started over here. Now I'm going to move over to the will. Like a lot of people, it's so strange that people have thrown out willpower in magic. And willpower is a thing of its own, it's an energy. Like we like to think energy is the power. No, energy is the effect of the use of will. There is a conscious push in the direction you want something to go, you know? So you have a body, you have a pull stick, and there's the pool ball, and you have to will your body to function, hit that stick. And so it's moving from one medium, thought, like intention, to body, mechanics, energy, to wooden stick, to ball, bouncing into the table, into the hole. So do you see how that transfer of willpower got converted into, I think we call it kinetic energy, got converted into energy, which got converted into motion, which hit the ball and we have the desired effect. Fourth pocket, there's the ball. So, same with a spell. You have to have willpower. But we really can't on this star. Each point is the beginning, each point is the end. You know, it's so do we start with our awareness? Do we start with our willpower? Do we start with our intention? Which is the next one? Intention. Why are we doing this? What are we doing? And I would say, just like I remember being in K grade, kindergarten, they gave us big fat crayons. And then we could move on to pencils, paints, and smaller, more finer crayons. So, what is our intention? Let's say attack, defend, block, shield. Those are big, basic words. We're speaking Aries here. We're speaking basic. How do we, the first programming you're going to learn is probably basic. So, and get good at it. And is it just as effective? May not be more fun, but it's effective. It's blunt. So, your intention should be crystal clear and blunt. I want my ex back now. Okay. Don't be flowery about it. Don't be religious about it. Don't be special about it. Don't be eloquent. Don't be nuanced. You should be able to do something really basic. Shut door now. Punch J in the face now. Pain is even better. So there we went. Punch J in the face went to one word, pain. The symbol, a fist, is so much more effective, if you want it to feel like that. Or the symbol of a knife, stab, basic. Are, very basic, blocky, robotic, disjointed. Those intentions, very clear, very basic. Boil it down to one word. You might learn something about yourself. So this is what I've really loved about magic. It wasn't actually the result that mattered to me. It was, oh, what am I actually feeling? What am I actually thinking? What do I desire? I think modern man has been potty trained to discount themselves, discount their feelings, numb out, turn it off, look at a screen, look to somebody else. We are now foreign to our bodies. We're foreign to our planets. We feel like a visitor. We're visiting Earth. We don't know if this is really our planet. We're visiting our body. We're here just for, like, we've been potty trained to be visitors. And no one, from my experience, it doesn't seem like people are like, oh, this is my body. This is my, there's no ownership. There's no deep connection with ourselves on many layers. And so I find magic helps me become more connected with how I feel, how I think. It's a mirror. Magic just been a mirror showing me what was going on internally. Oh, I'm not a good person. I wish that person death. Or, oh, I wish that person some type of pain. So, what I learned from magic was this shadow material that someone might go to therapy for. Interesting enough, therapy came out of magical practices, period. There's no argument, you know? So, if you're doing magic, you're doing the root work of psychology. But, you got to put the two together. You got to look, eat the fruit and appreciate the tree and the flower. You can't just be looking at the roots all day. You're going to forget there's a tree with leaves. You're going to forget there's a sunshine, So so this is being polarized, this is compartmentalizing, this is being hyper focused in one direction. It will destroy you, you know? So you got to look at all aspects of what's going on. So our intention, what is it really? Do you want a healing? And make it super simple. To get effective work, make it very clear, very simple. So go basic. Your magic is going to improve real fast, you know? So I looked up words on YouTube. I'm like, oh my gosh, we talk about words, we hear about it. There's all this vocabulary, this invented vocabulary for what witchcraft is and magic. I'm like, so after I read it, I was like, oh, well, that's just normal. That's just, cleaning my room and setting space, creating sacred space. I just had a different terminology. So, so this is also another thing. The more advanced you get, the less you have to do. It's done for you. Your energy level, the clarity of your mind, the strength of your mind, the strength of your will is so strong. You can bulldoze other people because most people don't have strong wills. And they don't have strong wills because their ability to pay attention to something or focus is low. So if you have a problem focusing, you have little willpower, you know? So willness. So anyways, we've moved on. We've talked about intention, setting that clear intention. So I was like, how do I undermine other people's magic? How do I pull the rug on them and make them feel foolish? I'm like, how do I get past all the smoke and mirrors and the layers and the stacking of magic that's going on here? Clearly there's some stacking of magic. She brought in a friend, and then there's the space, and who knows what else is going on. Maybe they've really magicked up that store, and I have now fell into the fire. I'm like, what is the root of that? What is the intention? So discernment, and I was watching other videos, and the word was dropped, discernment. She goes into what that is. I got lost a little bit. And I was like, I think discernment, seeing through the bullshit, is really looking at that underlying intent. What was their intention? And I'm like, well, I know I felt a lot of fear that came off as violence, which was transmitted as pain. So that told me a lot. So I don't discount that intuitive information. Intuitive information is any type of information you get that's not obvious in your 3D experience through your 5 senses. So even though no one was showing fear, they all had their masks on, they're playing stupid. Underneath it, there was a lot of fear. They're afraid of me. Oh my God, nothing's scarier than a guy who's gay doing magic, coming up into your little crystal rock shop, who knows more about your business than you know. I guess that's room, and who's also willing to just tell you you're being rude, that you don't, who's really gonna mirror back, give you feedback, which is what life does, and you don't like it. So, anyways, to get to the root of it, so let's say we're doing like protective magic, you're in a magical war, really find out that root intention, that motive. So when my sister decided to have a flip out, and I instantly knew she was jealous. I was like, oh, the reason why you're behaving this way and saying this stuff that has nothing, that's non related to what's really going on inside of you was jealousy. Because I was talking and questioning my other two brothers, my brother and my sister. This other sister was getting no attention. So she decided to throw a fit to get attention and to try to undermine me, because she loves to try to undermine me. She's like, you think you're so spiritual, you think you're so holy. And I'm like, well, maybe, maybe. Like, who knows? But so her intention was to get attention. Her other intention was to try to deflate my ego, find something wrong in this idea. So she's under the assumption that just because I'm an advanced being, possibly a guru, that I'm supposed to exhibit religious tendencies, like only being good, only being wise. I'm a balanced being, so I'm going to check you. I'm going to clap you. I'm going to say, you're a bitch. I'm going to put you in your place. I'm going to be mean. But I can also have all these other emotions. So we get this idea of a guru only has, these beautiful emotions that are politically correct and only says great things. No. And I'm not just that. I'm all this other stuff too. I get to be a fool. I get to be human. I get to have the full experience. The good, the bad, the ugly, the shameful, the wrong, the dirty, the criminal, but the passionate and the beautiful and the lovely and the wise too. I get to be everything. So, boom. She was looking for a reaction. She's also looking for a way to be connected to me. I won't connect to low vibes. So, but anyways, it was really easy to see through all the bullshit and get to the intention. So if I do a ritual or a spell to deal with that, I need to deal with the actual intent, that root motivation, in order to really have functional magic if it's going to be protective. It's not just block so and so from entering my room. It's no, we need to find the real intent and deal with it. And I call all magic passive aggressive energy behavior. So I can manipulate it in a passive aggressive way called a spell. But anyways, she was my sister, so I let some shit slide. Moving on. So we've talked about attention, willpower, and awareness. Now we're going to look at what I call the other point, ritual. A ritual is a process. It's a pattern. It's an enactment or a reenactment of what you want. So like in a love spell, you would probably put two images, a him and a her together, maybe making love. Or you might draw a picture of after, she's smoking a cigarette, he's laid out tired, and feel the energy of the after effect. Well, and so you've kind of done what life is, a bunch of pictures set into motion, creating a story, creating an event. And at any point, so that would be your enactment. So rituals are usually an enactment. The one ritual that is life, death, rebirth, which is sexual, life, make love, make life, procreate. The two patterns coming together to make the third pattern, the coming together and the separating, the exchange, however you're looking at it, there's an energy exchange, and everything follows this pattern of yin and yang, of masculine, feminine, the joining of forces, the separating of forces, the joining becoming more than sums of their parts, and the splitting off as a new organism. That would be the birth. And so, whether, so if your patterns make sense, your rituals make sense, they become clear directions, clear reenactments, and then they are manifest as real things. They'll literally say what you wanted them to say, what you wrote down in your ritual, what you wrote down in your spell. You literally formulate it, manipulate it, spell it out. So, and they're movements. So, in some form, it has to move, it has to be transmitted, it has to stimulate the object, and the objects must move. So, the last one is the medium or the substance. So, in your ritual, in your magic, the substance and the medium might be pen and paper. You and the pen, you and the ink, you and the paper, you and the fire that you now deliver it. Fire, water, earth, and air. These are the four mediums which we work with. And so the medium is always present. Use the right medium for your spell, you know? So my coworker and we did a quick little spell. He wanted some guy to text him. They were texting, and then he's not texting, and there's a delay, and now he's all worried, couldn't let go. I'm like, well, let's just get an intention, create a simple symbol of what you want, and then let's, it's a done deal. Let's light it on fire. So boom, we did that. Literally 1 minute later, the guy texts him. He was like, whoa, that was fast. And I'm like, well, you used fire. Fire is pretty fast, So, but we had to look at some fundamental things and why that spell didn't last. How much energy did you really put into it? Was your intention really clear enough? Because he had some doubt. I had no doubt. He had some doubt. I was really clear what I wanted for him. He wasn't too sure. A lot of people are afraid of what they're asking for. In a card reading, is so-and-so really cheating on me? Can I handle the truth? Can I handle the truth? And the reading comes out obscure. Oh, I really want my ex back. I really want my ex back. Oh, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid that we'll have an argument, or that we'll do that again. We'll never break that pattern. Or, yes, I want him back, but I don't know if I'll ever trust him again. So we see a lot of crossing forces, a lot of duality in our intentions, a lot of, we're supporting two different sides. And when you get this crisscross, like I believe in karma and Jesus and doing what's right and going to heaven, but I also believe in punishing people and judging them and being the executioner. I need to magically attack them and put them in their place and show them they're not the boss. Now your energies are divided. Your psychology is divided. How do you make these two cross things come together? How do you make them support each other? So I'd say most magical failure is because there's two different agendas, there's two different belief systems, and literally you're splitting yourself in half. So you don't have all the energy to push it all in one direction. You don't get full support from your willpower. You don't get full support from mind, body, spirit. It doesn't translate through all the dimensions. So intention is number one, really. You get really good at understanding your intention, know thyself. Your magic will be clarified and laser-like. So a lot less preparation, a lot less substance, a lot less work, a lot less meditation. Then it becomes fun. So the whole point of this video is I wanted to strip away the magical hat the witchcraft belongs to women. Uh, we need to get this stuff from history. We need to identify with a coven or a group. Like, take off the religion, take off the the group. You know, we all look alike, we all talk alike, we all do everything alike. Like, let's just make this really basic. It comes down to your intention, your willpower, your awareness, the tools that you're using, the substance, and your process. If you get those 5 things, if you work these things, you go back to the drawing board. You go, was my process clear and simple? Did it actually enact and reenact what I want? Oh, I used the wrong color. Pink doesn't really go for war. You know, that wasn't a bold yellow. No wonder why my defenses are down. I should have used something like an intense, solid gold. I should have used a pure black, not a gray. I shouldn't mess around with substitutes when doing magic. Yeah. You know, oh, so I shouldn't be using Hindu gods if really I'm kind of Christian, On the down low, I don't really know what I believe. Who am I going to support? The gods aren't really coming through for you if that's not your truth. So that was another thing. She was really into Kali. I'm like, those are Hindu gods. And you still haven't figured out if you're Christian or not, or if you're a real witch. So before you go playing with gods, you might want to figure out your own shit. So, yeah. And awareness is so key. Like, it's your guiding light. Like, awareness and intuition go together. Like, I can just sit and figure stuff out and let it go, and the magic's done. I don't need to get involved. And I also know it's not my place, you know? So, really knowing who you are. That's my video. Like, reflect on those 5 things: the materials you're using, awareness, willpower, intention, and the process/ritual. Those 5 things, you can do any type of magic you want, and then you can clothe it in any way you want. You can look like a businessman. You can look like a peasant. You can, whatever you like, be yourself. And that's it.